is karma starting to come for the New England Patriots? We're not talking about Bill Belichick right now. We're talking about the actual Super Bowl, because a part of this story that you and I have discussed with the Patriots is that this is a bit of a charmed run that they've had this season. Easiest schedule in football. You face off against C.J. Stroud in the divisional round. He can't throw. He's just handing the football over to you at home in the sleet. And then you prepare for the Broncos. Bo Nix breaks his ankle. You get Stidham. Stidham, okay, maybe he shows up. Maybe he could play. And then here comes the snow, and it's just a whiteout, and you get nothing from the Broncos offense. So you get a pretty easy path right to the Super Bowl for the Patriots. Their charmed path. Is the karma now coming to the Patriots because Drake Maye was listed as limited with a shoulder injury yesterday on the injury report?
No, I don't think so. I think that this is something that isn't going to necessarily affect them. I think he'll be able to go. I think this is just, precautionary stuff. They haven't really practiced. This is their bye week. This is why you have 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. If they were playing in 2 days, 3 days, yeah, I would say, okay, maybe this is something that would affect, the game or not. But, as we sit here right now, 10 days or so before the Super Bowl, and I look on DraftKings, the spread hasn't changed. They're still a 4.5-point underdog. Yeah. None of that has changed right now. And to me, that really isn't going to matter, because we talked about this with Sam Darnold and his oblique injury. And we were paying attention to that going into a couple of these games, and specifically with the 49ers game. And that spread didn't change throughout the week, and whether or not Sam Darnold was going to play or how limited he would be. And they were like, well, they're still a 7.5-point favorite the entire week. So I don't think whether or not he was going to have to play or how limited he would be. And it obviously didn't matter. They throttled the 49ers, and he didn't seem affected by it in the game against the Rams. So as long as that point spread stays at 4.5, and you get to next week when they're actually practicing, I don't think that they're going to be limited by this. Now, you get in the game and you see that Drake Maye has taken 5 sacks a game in these playoffs. And now he's facing a great defense once again. We can say that they've gotten breaks, but they've faced great defenses going into these playoffs. The Texans defense was great. The Broncos defense, great. The quarterbacks.
But I think you can immediately push back and say that if they had any offensive play in either of those games, of course, New England's out.
I understand that.
And that's why it's a bit of a charmed run to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And if you're living in Boston and you're a diehard Patriots fan and you're upset at that, that's the harsh reality.
Of course.
You had an easy schedule. You took care of that business. You got home playoff games. You went up against an offense in the Texans that was just putrid. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And so you get through that. And then what we saw, Denver's defense played good enough to win that game last weekend to get to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, Bo Nix wasn't there, so that's not the case.
And if Bo Nix plays in that game, we're talking about Denver playing in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
and not the Patriots.
I think if you had anyone else at quarterback for the Texans, you're talking about a different outcome in the divisional round. I mean, Houston was in that game. Will Anderson was single-handedly keeping the Texans in that matchup. Yet it was C.J. Stroud turning over the football every single time he touched it.
Yeah.
To why the Patriots had that success, and they were able to run out to the lead that they had at the end in the fourth quarter.
Well, let's not get it twisted. We would be talking about Bill Belichick, so we wouldn't be talking about the Broncos per se. We would still be talking about Bill Belichick and not the Patriots or the Broncos. Bill Belichick would still be the topic of conversation. But I do think that as long as we don't see any, because Vegas knows everything. They know everything. And that's why when this point spread came out and the Seahawks won and beat the Rams, this point spread went from 3.5 to 4 to 4.5 and kind of settled right there around 4.5. And I don't think now, what I do think could happen is if he takes 5 sacks in that game, the first one, if he falls on that shoulder in a weird way and he injures that shoulder, that could definitely affect the rest of the game. I think the Seahawks,
I could see that.
I think the Seahawks are better than the Patriots in almost every single facet of this game. every single facet of this football game, I think the Seahawks are better. The only spot where I think that they can have an advantage, the Patriots, is that obviously Drake Maye is probably a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Drake Maye's having an MVP season. Sam Darnold, we still have question marks. Sam Darnold played the game of his life.
I don't think it's probably. I think he is the better quarterback.
But we don't know because in the playoffs, it's been the opposite.
Well,
in the playoffs,
he hasn't played well in the playoffs.
But that's my point. If we go on track record, if I go for the last few games, Drake Maye hasn't played well in the playoffs. Sam Darnold, his last game, played the game of his life. So if he plays like that again, and I look at how Drake Maye has played, and he's playing another great defense, and if he can't throw the ball like he did, I know it was a snowstorm, but even in the beginning of that game, the Broncos were getting to him.
Yeah.
He took 5 sacks again.
I think a big problem with that is left tackle Will Campbell, who's been good throughout the regular season. He's been an absolute mess in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so, like, first-round draft pick, protecting the blind side for Drake Maye, he's been beat constantly here in the playoffs. And if you're Seattle and you're looking at this matchup and you got the edge rushers that you do and that defensive line, they're looking at Will Campbell there, and they're looking to take advantage. And I guarantee you next week when we're on Radio Row, broadcasting live from San Francisco, previewing the game, I guarantee you that's going to be one of the hot topics all week is that can the Patriots protect Will Campbell? Can he show up in this game and not allow the Seahawks front four to just obliterate this contest and really avoid what has affected Drake Maye's play here in the last month? It's been getting sacked, fumbles, and just not having a clean pocket. If they can figure that out from New England's perspective, then I agree. Like, in every aspect, Seattle is the better team. But if you get a young quarterback to stay upright and he's cooking, you have a chance.
Oh, yeah.
But it all starts with up front with the Patriots offensive line.
I just think the karma that's going to come back and get the Patriots is going to be at the end of the game, we're just going to be like, oh, yeah, they were a year early. Like, this just wasn't, or we're going to be looking at the Seahawks and saying, yeah, this was the best team in football all year, and having the debates of where Sam Darnold ranks among the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL if he has another game like he did in the NFC Championship game.
Like, I don't even think it needs to be Sam Darnold. Where do you rank him as far as top 10 quarterbacks go? I think if and when that happens, Seattle wins, if they win big, 34-17 or 34-13, something like that, where it's not really that competitive of a game. I think the story will be more so along the lines of like other quarterbacks who were riding the coattails of great defenses. Like, where do you put Sam Darnold in comparison to when Flacco won? Like, I know Flacco made big plays throughout the playoffs.
Flacco had an insane run in the playoffs.
No, he did, but it was the defense.
Yeah.
You know, and same goes for Trent Dilfer.
I was going to say, there's a difference between Flacco and Dilfer.
Okay, but both had very good defenses.
Yes.
I think that is going to be more of the conversation. I don't know if people are realistically going to walk away from the Super Bowl saying that Sam Darnold is a top 10 quarterback. I think he's serviceable. I think he's good. I think he had the talent coming into the NFL to be that. He just hasn't been reliable. So I could see him playing well, but I think the story more so, if Seattle wins big, the story will be about that Seahawks defense. The story will be about their special teams and just the entire team coming together. I don't think Sam Darnold will be the story unless the Patriots win. And if the Patriots win, I'm guessing Darnold's going to have some turnovers, and that's why he'll be a part of the story.
Sam Darnold in 2024, when he was with the Vikings, was 5th in yards and 5th in touchdowns. This year during the regular season, he was 9th in touchdowns, and let me look at yards real quick. He was 5th in yards. So he was a top 10 quarterback the last 2 years.
Pick your stat.
No,
I've got eyeballs.
I gave you both.
He's not a top 5 quarterback.
I said top 10. I said top 10.
I think you really have to squint
I
hard
said
to
top
make
10.
that top 10.
No, but they also had, along with their number one defense, they were the number one team in We Love the Nerd Stat DVOA.
Yeah, they
They
were
also had the number one offense for a while, or number two offense for a while. They weren't just a team that were relying on their defense. They were the number one team in DVOA for a reason. This was the greatest matchup in DVOA history between them and the Rams for a reason, because they had a great offense. And it's not just because they were relying on a run game with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. It was because of Sam Darnold getting the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba. This isn't just some scrub throwing the football 5 yards a play. He's a good quarterback. He had a very bad playoff game with the Vikings, and he had a mediocre last month of the season. But the last 2 years during the regular season, he's been a top 10 quarterback in yards and touchdowns. You can't argue with it. You just can't.
Yeah, I'm not arguing
And
with
the
those
only
stats.
reason
I
that-
just know, like, if you list it off, and we don't have to do this exercise right now, you're not putting Sam Darnold in the top 10 quarterbacks if I'm saying who's the best quarterback in football. You're not doing that.
But the only
so
reason,
you can give me all the stats you want, but that's not the point. The point is he's not a top 10 quarterback.
The only reason that Minnesota shipped him out is because they drafted J.J. McCarthy. If J.J. McCarthy's not there, Sam Darnold's a Viking.
If he was a top 10 quarterback, they wouldn't have done that with J.J. McCarthy.
He had top 10 stats. I don't know why they drafted him before they needed him. He got hurt. That's the only reason he started.
But that's on them.
They didn't know.
I don't work for the Vikings.
They didn't know he was going to do that.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. That's what I'm saying. They didn't know, but that's also on them that he left and continued to produce.
He didn't have to leave.
That means he's that good.
Okay.
My point to you is that if you listed off the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL, you, Adam Abdalla, you are not putting Sam Darnold in the top 10.
I don't necessarily have to.
I guarantee
he
it.
can be 12 or 13 and he's still right up there.
Yes.
Okay.
But he's not going to be a top 10 guy.
What's wrong with that? I guarantee you that we get in here on Monday after the Super Bowl, and whenever people start running out of stuff and we start
running out of stuff.
What are
you talking about?
I said people, not we. I said
name
people.
names.
I said people.
Give a name.
Not
give a
we.
name. Give a show across the country that will run out of stuff. Come on, Abdalla.
They might run out of takes.
Yeah,
whatever happens first.
Okay, you think that there's takes
whatever happens first.
Wow.
Okay.
Shots fired.
Whenever they run, and they got to rank quarterbacks.
Adam Abdalla.
That's what we do. We rank quarterbacks.
Fired.
Okay, and you go top 10. Here we go. And it's like, here's Josh Allen, here's Patrick Mahomes, here's Joe Burrow, here's this. Eventually, you're going to get to Sam Darnold. And just because he saw ghosts for a little bit, people are down on Sam Darnold because he had a bad game in the biggest moments. They forget that he got there, that the Vikings won 14 games. They forget that.
You act like you and I don't rank quarterbacks throughout the summer.
I understand that we do. You also forget that you love Sam Darnold probably more than anybody around the country. You got a Sam Darnold fathead.
I remember Darnold at USC.
Yeah.
And he was awesome. And the comeback in the Rose Bowl, he was great. He was the reason why Clay Helton was still head coach, because he kept pulling them out of games that they should have lost, but Darnold was good enough.
That's why you hate him.
For the comebacks.
That's why you hate him.
I mean, I liked watching him as a USC fan, no doubt. But
the numbers dictate that he
didn't live up to what I thought he'd be in the NFL.
Yeah, with the Jets. And
even like it's cool that he's gotten to this point, but it's taken so much time, and he has probably the best defense in football on his side.
Yeah, but he's still putting up great offensive numbers the last 2 years.
Sure.
We just talked about it. You can redeem yourself. Look at what Baker Mayfield's done. You can redeem yourself. You can develop into a top 10 to 12 quarterback. No one's putting him up there with Mahomes or saying he's Josh Allen.
Well, you said he's going to be a top 10 guy if they win the Super Bowl.
I'm telling you that people will
and then you listed off top 10 stats to try and prove your point.
I just said that he was
That's exactly what just happened.
I just said he was top 10 in yards and touchdowns the last 2 years. I just gave you the numbers. And you will see graphics that will put him, people will say, when I rank him, people will say, here you go, here's this, here's this.
With all of that, Drake Maye is still the better quarterback in this game.
Not the last few games.
Okay. I understand that. Look at the stats. You enjoy stats. You're a big fan of stats.
I do.
You've been very into the stats today.
I have.
What were Drake Maye's stats this season compared to Sam Darnold?
Drake Maye was 4th in yards by just like one game's worth, 300 to 4,394 to 4,048.
Okay.
And he had
a lot of touchdowns, right?
6 more touchdowns.
6 more touchdowns.
6 more touchdowns. He also had, let's see,
interceptions.
He had 20 more sacks.
Okay, interceptions.
He had 6 less interceptions.
Okay, so 6 more, 6 less, better quarterback.
He had 20 more sacks.
That's fine.
20 more sacks.
6 less interceptions, 6 more touchdowns. Those are the stats we're using for this argument.
I'll take the guy with less sacks.
Well,
too.
I think Drake Maye is the better player in this matchup between those two.
Okay.
Drake Maye, Sam Darnold. I think most people in their right mind would say that Drake Maye is the better quarterback.
I understand that they would say that, but if I go based on the last 3 games, I'll take the guy that hasn't been sacked 15 times.